Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Criminal Justice Corner. Here at Criminal Justice Corner, we give you the real details surrounding the case. And just in case you find yourself in that same situation, we give you potential actionable advice so that you can find yourself out of that same situation. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Matthews. And today I have with me a very special guest, Gina. Gina, thank you for being here with me. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, and thank you, Dr. Jennifer, for having me, and thank you for all the listeners. Yes, I'm was raised in New York. I'm a Long Island girl, one of 8 kids, the seventh
Wow.
child.
Okay.
Um, Came from a very loving, unconditional love of family. My parents were very loving. We
Love
all went
that.
to college, so I went through
A studious
junior
family.
high, high school. I went to college. And yeah, I would say I had a great childhood. The only exception is uh, that I was born with a lot of health problems, so I had to deal
Okay.
with that as a child growing up. Surgeries. I always formed this identity saying "Poor me, why me?" Because always everything happened to Gina, and so I kind of had that in my whole life, that false identity or that poor me
Okay.
syndrome and the why
So it kind
me's.
of
But
shaped your life and how you saw yourself.
yes, yes. And yeah, and so when I went to college, my father was so gracious, paid for all of our education, all 8 kids.
Mm.
So that's
Wow.
how,
Thanks,
yeah.
Dad.
But we're back in the 80s. So, I mean, back then, I mean, it was high, but it wasn't as high today. So,
Absolutely not.
a- and but he was a hardworking father, and I got a degree in social work.
Mm.
Yeah, I lived the life of college life, lived the party scene. I was this cute little short little girl that everybody loved, and at the same time I was searching for that love and that acceptance, finding it in all the wrong places. You know that song, right?
I
You've heard
sure
that song.
do. I sure do. I know that song, honey.
Yeah, I wish I could have wrote that song. I mean, I don't know why I could have that song. I would have been whatever where I've been today, but
Hey,
that
that
wasn't
might
in
be your
my.
next book, Gina. That might be your next
Yeah,
book. Wait a minute.
yes, it will be. Yes, it will be. It'd be like, yeah, and but that's how. But yet, I just maintained. Go to college, graduated, social work degree. At this time, my parents moved from PA, not from PA, from sorry, from New York to Pennsylvania. So my mother, little Italian mother, says, "Oh, Gina, we built a room for you." And I'm like, "Okay, if you want to come home after college." It was, I really did not want to come home because I loved that college scene and I was
And
fixated.
the freedom that
Yes,
comes
that
with living
freedom.
the college life, right?
Yes, yes. And I did a lot of, that's where I did a lot of my drinking and a lot of just
Party
college
life.
party life. But for some reason, everybody was studying. I don't know why, but that's
Why
fine.
were they studying in college, Gina? What was their problem?
No, what was it? That's why I did social work because it's an easy. It was an easy major. You just write, get somebody. No, I shouldn't say that. But I did. I made it through college, and and the reason why my parents moved to Pennsylvania was because they still had a child. They retired, but they still had a child in junior high. My mother had my younger brother when she was 49 years old.
No,
So
she didn't. No, she
yeah,
didn't.
she
Why did
did.
she start
Yeah.
over like that?
Stephen was their pride and joy,
Ah,
and so
the babies
and
always are. The babies of the
are yeah,
family, they always are. They dote on them, right?
yeah. And a real gift to my parents, a real gift to our family.
Hmm.
He just he blossomed. He
Aw.
didn't have any health problems or anything like that. He was born normal, had, little chubby
Not
baby,
like you,
but
right? Not like
not
you.
like me. Not like tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. It's like
Gina.
yeah. So we were 7 years apart. So I was
Okay,
7 years the baby, and then he came.
got it.
Yeah. So I mean, it was nice. I go live with my family. It was great. My parents. had to get a job, doctor. I don't know why, but me had to get a
What were
job.
they thinking making you get a job, Gina? What kind of
I don't
parents did you have?
I don't know, but so anyhow, I did, and but we grew up working. We always worked as 16
As
and
a
all.
family? Yeah.
Yeah, we had that what do you call ethics of working, and so hardworking, and so I did. I get a job bartending. Yes, that was my
Back
job.
to
I
the
went.
party life.
That's right. That's right. And I have to be honest, I was still like empty on my insides. I was still searching for something. I was like a soul
Okay.
sickness. And so I figured I'll go bartend, I'll be around that atmosphere again. Oh, one thing I forgot to share is that I became a famous I was very good at pool shark. I used to run the tables,
Ooh,
billiards.
that's a
Billiards. Not the
huge
water pool shark, but the billiards,
that's a
pool
huge
tables.
detail to leave out, Gina.
I
We needed
know.
to
That's
know
a
that.
mystery
That's
in itself.
huge.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I was
Made a name for
th-
yourself there.
it, they were scared of me. They were scared of me.
Okay, men and women, they didn't want to meet you on the billiards.
No. Oh no, 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 no. And and I'm this little petite under 5 feet girl, like, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'll play you. And not only I beat them, I run the table throughout the night. Give me my beers, put the quarter in, let's play again.
Okay.
That was my education.
Yeah. So you come
uh,
to us, Gina, with a unique story. Take us to the point where, because you wrote a book about your unique story, it's so unique. Take us to the
yes.
point where you have this unique encounter.
Yes, I will. As during my bartending day, as I was bartending, I have to add this in before I get into the big story. Is that my mom was diagnosed with cancer, 4 to 6 months to live, and she died
No.
in those 5 months.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah,
Oh, I'm so
yeah.
sorry to
So
hear that.
I'm bartending. This is 33 years ago now. I'm
Okay.
bartending, taking care of my mom, my dad. My younger brother goes off to college down in Pennsylvania, and but I was her caregiver, so we took care of her, and it was a joy. I didn't have any faith, hope, or love. I didn't have God in my life. I was raised Catholic, but yet at college, you don't need church. You don't need that. Didn't know what
That's
a
the belief at
relationship.
that time.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I did, but there was a God, but I didn't need him. It
You
wasn't
didn't
like I
feel
didn't believe in him. It
you
wasn't
didn't feel
like
he was
I,
important in that moment during
yeah,
that time
exactly.
span. Okay.
So after my mom died, I did this journey of searching the meaning of life, meaning of God,
Mm,
and
okay.
what happens was that I came back to my Catholic roots, and
Okay.
then in that I became a Catholic nun,
No,
but
you
not
did not
just
become
yet.
a nun.
Yes, but not really just yet. But yes, I was on my way to becoming a Catholic nun.
Okay.
Uh,
So
in 19
after your bartending days, you won and your pool sharking days, you decided to go on a nun journey.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I'm trying to keep up, Gina, because this
No,
story
I'm
got a
glad.
lot of
No, you're
twists and
doing
turns.
great. You're doing great. So here, I got to say, okay. So here I was going to join the nunnery
Yes.
in 1994.
Okay.
But yet, when the time came for me to join, a guy came in my life.
Wouldn't you think?
And I'm like, oh my God, because I always wanted to get married.
Ooh,
So I was like, well, maybe this is what
a
I'm supposed to
sign.
do.
This is a
Yeah,
sign that I
it's a
shouldn't join the
sign.
nunnery. I should be with a man.
Amen. So we came back, and this was all in New York, where I thought I was going to join the convent at that time, 1994. So we decided to come back to Pennsylvania and to try it out. And matter of fact, he wanted to be a priest. So
Oh my gosh, this was totally a sign.
yeah, it was a sign. Oh yeah, it was a sign. So here, we go to Pennsylvania, and for some reason inside me, I was just miserable. I didn't know what to do because everyone wanted me to be. I wasn't sure of myself in either way. Even in Gina, I wasn't sure. So back in right, we broke up. We broke up,
Wait a minute. The priest
1995.
and the nun, the potential priest and the potential nun break up?
Yeah, and
Okay.
about 1995. Now, at this point, Dr. Jennifer, I was like, I don't want to deal with vocations, discernment, prayer. I want to live a life, 9 to 5 job, which I never had up until, like this. I'm about 28 years old,
Okay.
27, 28.
Okay.
So I decided I got a job, and I got a job. I got two jobs. I got a job with a woman with disabilities and her husband. She was 36 years old and he was 38. They were like, you would call them bumpkins of, you know what I mean? Like
Country
country,
bumpkin.
simple, yeah, bumpkins of Pennsylvania, but she had a lot of problems, but I was mostly taking care of her. Uh, and so, and at the same, then in the afternoon, I would take care of an elderly lady. So I had two jobs. So I'm trying to get my life in order, no
Absolutely.
nunnery, no vocations, no guy doing this. So here, now the lady I was working for, she was quite difficult, but I was just like, and there was like a darkness upon her. There was just, I can't explain it, but it was like, and me still being a prayerful person, because, I was going to join the sister, I would pray and I would pray. Well, one morning, it was during Lent. I was still going to church. I was still like going to mass. After mass, I go to work, which I normally do, get there around 8 o'clock in the morning. And when I get there, I'm driving, I go up into the driveway, and there was a yellow tape around the house. And I was like,
Your house
a
or
yellow
the
tape?
lady's house?
The lady's house,
Okay.
the lady and the
That had the
gentleman.
spirit around her.
Yeah, it was like a
Okay.
dark, like they were. So I get out and I'm yelling for their names. And I noticed in the kitchen, it was burnt. It was like, it was burnt down. I was like, oh my
Okay.
God, what
So it's a
happened here?
fire and there's yellow tape. Okay.
There's yellow tape. So I didn't know what to do. I go home. I call up I
But wait,
called,
it's
I
yellow
guess,
tape. Were there
911.
police there or anything?
I didn't see any police. I didn't see
Okay.
anyone because it was kind of still dark, it was still dark. And so I go home and I guess I called 911 or the fire department. I said, what happened on Mountain Road? Because that's a main road in the area. And
Okay.
they said, well, I said, was there a fire? And they said, yes. And I said, what happened to so and so? And they said, well, there was two fatalities. And I said, does that mean they're dead? And they said yes. So I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? And I said, when did this happen? And they said it was like 7:30 the night before in the evening, like early evening. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Because I had left there at 4 o'clock the night before, the day before.
Oh, okay.
I was so what I did, I went to the church to go pray for their souls because I didn't know where their souls were at. So I'm like, and then, so here at the same time, the gentleman that I broke up with, he was still in the area and he was leaving. And I had called him and he wasn't around. And I said to his roommate, tell him that they're dead. I don't know why, but I said, they're dead, they're dead. So it was really strange. And so anyhow, fast forward, this was all in the morning. I didn't see that guy friend. I didn't, but now it's all on the news about this fire. And you see the two body bags coming out and everything like that. So then I get a phone call around 3 o'clock
In the
in the afternoon
afternoon.
from,
Okay.
yes, from the lady's sister, and said, Gina, just to let you know that she was telling me that my sister was shot in the head, and her husband was beaten to death, and they used a lot flume to make to cover it up. And I said, oh my God, they were murdered, like this. And they said yes. So now I'm like, now I am nervous because I'm like, why would they want to murder them? And
Right. Of
then
all
next
people.
And then next minute, now meanwhile, I come to find this out that the cops come to my door because
Hmm.
they come to find out that I was her aide, her personal
Right.
aide.
Right.
So, and the reason why they found that out, because if you remember that morning, I called my friend and I told his roommate that tell him
They're
he's dead.
dead.
Well, yeah. Well, he was trying to contact me. No cell phones at the time.
Mm-hmm.
No answer at my house because I'm going to the church to go pray. So what does he do? He goes to the cop station looking for me, thinking that
Right.
I was
You're
there.
one of the fatalities too.
Yeah. So he goes to that and he's like, say, is Gina here? And they're like, who's Gina? Gina, who worked for that couple.
Right.
You sit right here, and then he sits down and he's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Gonna get Gina in trouble. So he flees the police station. He goes down a wrong way street. I mean, this
No.
is can't and the cops stopped him, and that's how the cops got my name. The cops got my
Okay.
name. That's how they came to my house.
Hmm.
So now here, they were murdered, and I was like, oh my God. And then instead of, back then I put on my Columbo hat,
Now
because,
you're a detective. From
I want to be the,
bartender, wait, Gina, from bartender to potential nun to Columbo the detective. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I was all over it. I was all over it. And I was very, the cops came in, was asking me all these questions and asked me to go to the station the next day. Was at the station there all day long, and I was telling me, me being not a nun yet, but being so honest. Oh, how is she? Oh, she's a hard person to work for. I'm like, I'm telling all these things, and here I'm trying. She's like, and they're like, do you know if anyone has any, enemies? And I'm like, well, this and that. And I'm like thinking of trying everything that I can to help them out, because really I thought I was going to solve this to solve it. I mean, so now at this point they're like, okay, if you could think of anything else, let us know. I have to say, we had payphones back then. I would stop on the side, hey, tell detective this. I remember there was a black book, whatever. I
Oh
tell,
my
this,
word, you're just
like
incriminating
this.
yourself.
I didn't know that, doctor. I was like, I'll play like this. And so then, and then now, meanwhile, at this point, I reached out to the sisters that I originally was going to join like a year before that.
At the
And I asked for
nunnery.
prayers. Yes, at the nunnery, I asked for prayers. Now, and then I'm thinking, because what I was told is that they were murdered about 7 o'clock. I left at 4. There was no break in. It was like, and I'm like, oh my God, are the people after me? Like, I'm thinking like I'm like the next victim.
Victim,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I was very nervous, and so the sisters in New York said, "Why don't you just come here and breathe and
Yeah.
just take a break?" And I said, "Well, I have to go to their wake, and then afterwards I'll just come, because I didn't have a job now, and and so I did. I went to this wake. It was the most. Oh, it was either I was just nervous. It just was not a peaceful. They were coffins head to head, and it was just sad. It was just sad. But right after that, I go to the convent. Now, meanwhile, this is right before Easter, during Easter, and I'm calling the cops every time, like I'm leaving. I like I've done this. Oh yeah, and this guy named Johnny, whatever it was. And I get to the convent, and then I call the cops again, saying, "Well, this is where I'm at. If you need my help." But then they said to me, "Are you running away to the
I
convent?"
knew it. I knew it.
I said, I'm not running away. I'm just here for some peace and some relaxation. So, and they said, well, how long are you going to be there for? I said, I'll be here. I said, I'm here for Easter. I'm going to celebrate Easter with them, and I'll be home Easter Monday. Easter. Well, we need to see you on the next day. Okay, I'll come. I'm like, I'm so ignorant, so oblivious. I'm like, okay, you need my help. Okay, I'll come. So Easter rolls around. I didn't go back right away. I ended up staying another extra day. I get back there and like, where are you? You were supposed to come back. I said, well, could you come in now? And I'm like, yeah, I'll come in tomorrow, whatever. Now it's the FBI. I'm like, oh, okay, FBI and everything. Now it's been 3 weeks lapse, or when the incident happened, maybe a month. And now I'm in the FBI. They know everything about me. They knew I was a bartender. They knew I was this. They because they asked me for my alibi for that day,
Did you
and
have
I
one?
said, "Well, I did. I said I was." After I worked with her, I went to the church to go pray, And then from there, I went to like a prayer group. And so he's like, they're like, he says to me, he says, okay, he goes, when you were at the church, can someone verify you at the church? And I was by myself. And I said, well, no, you can ask Jesus. I was there.
Have mercy, Gina.
Sorry, this is so true. This is so true. And then and they checked everything. They knew my brother, they knew my family by the time like this. And then they said, and then they said, you know, what did you think? And I did say they were difficult to work for. I said nobody liked her, and she was very, she wouldn't let me have a cookie. I would bake cookies and she'd never offer me a cookie. So I was like, and I didn't eat a cookie because I was good and I had to steal a cookie from her, you know? And so, so anyhow, so then they
Gina.
asked me, they said to me, so Gina, could you come in and do a lie detector test?
Oh
Sure, why
my
not?
word.
Because Dr. Jennifer, at this point, God was on my side. You know what I mean? That's all I said.
You
I'm
were
innocent. I didn't do anything.
oblivious, Gina.
I was so I go, my sister who lives in the area took me to the Capitol. We went to do the lie detector test.
Have
I was there 8
mercy.
hours in a little cubicle. So when
Oh,
I see, and I don't know if you ever done one before, if you ever been
never.
one, but when they'll drill you, they ask you questions, and then they'll say, you know, before they put the lie detector test on the machine on you, they'll say to you, you know, did you hurt anyone before 20 years old? Yeah, okay, I heard whatever. Did you hurt anyone after 20 years? Okay, okay, you know, whatever.
They ask
And then
you
of course, did you
the
kill them?
generating
Did you
question.
da da da? Like it was 10 questions. So then they put the those patches on, whatever, the machine on me. So they said, I mean, they're like, are you an American citizen? Yes, I am. That's easy to say. And then they said, they go, now, did you hurt anyone before 20 that you didn't tell us about? I go, who? I didn't know what, you know. So anyhow, I failed the test. I took it 3 times. I failed it all 3 times. I just was like, I can't believe I'm
Gina,
failing this
Gina,
test.
Gina.
And so and then they said that they thought that I own a gun. I'm like, I don't own a gun. Well, they said, well, somebody at the bar heard you that you bought a gun. I'm going back 2 years ago. I go, I did? I mean, I was just so at the end of the 8 hours, I could remember this. This was a Friday. I'm in a cubicle, and I said, and they asked me at the end, they go, can you come in on Monday to retake it because you seem nervous? I said, okay.
Oh my, Gina, please.
So so I have to say, but by the end of that whole time, it was, and now I'm laughing about it. Back then I wasn't laughing, but I really thought I did it, Dr. Jennifer. I got
What?
to a point where I questioned myself. Did I kill them? I really did, honest to God. That's how your mind, and like I'm like, but God's on my, you know, like this. And then my sister was so gracious. She knew a lawyer, and she
Thank
says, you need
goodness.
to talk. She says, you
Somebody
need to talk
saved
to a
you, Gina.
lawyer. Yeah. So I had the lawyer on the phone, and I shared everything that I kind of shared here, you know, and it's all in my book. So I'm like, I shared, and he
Don't
says, you
talk to
know,
them again.
yeah, he says, you know what, they they're gonna arrest you. You know, they're making you you're a good suspect. But when you go in on Monday, just say that you were advised by a lawyer, which I didn't realize that's a powerful word back. I'm going 33 years now. I know it's powerful. Back then, I was like, so I did go in. I said, I'm sorry. You know, 30. I says I was advised by a lawyer that I don't need to take this test. You know, and I had to like let go, being Columbo, being that detective, you know, trying to start my own life. They did try to pursue me again afterwards, but I didn't return their phone calls. And then I continue my life. And about 6 months later, I did join the convent. I did join the nunnery in
What?
1990. In 1997, I had joined. And so and I always knew, like, of course, people heard my story, you know, people in the convent. I always knew it's an open door because they never found the person who
Person,
did it.
really?
So it became a cold case, and then they reopened it. And now this time I'm in the convent as a sister, maybe 2 years in, 3 years in, 2 years in. They called me, they've located me, and they came out to New York to question me as a sister
Mhm.
because the case is open case, cold case, it's
Did you
open. Let's
talk
go
to
ask
them?
sister. Yeah, I talked to them. Matter of fact, I made pasta for them. I said, "Yeah, you want to stay for lunch?" And I talked to them, and it came to find out I found a little bit more of what happened. Is that they thought I was maybe having an affair with the husband, and I was like, no. And, and it had to do, they would just ask me all these questions and everything. And they said, okay, we'll come back. If we need any more questions, we'll call you. And I said, okay. And at this point, but at that point I says, you know what? I don't remember anything now. Like, I don't remember any details in a sense. I don't remember what happened back then. I did, because I was in Colombo, and I says, no, I was like, oh yeah, do you know this person? I guess, I was like, I didn't really know. I was being honest that I really didn't know, because 2 3 years had passed, and
Right,
I was like, okay, I'm moving forward. And then 5 years after the date it was that they were murdered, it was March 6th. It was 5 years later. It was March 6th, 1995. So it was the year 2000. That We had mass at the convent. I prayed for them because I knew it was still hanging, because
right,
it was open. Okay, and also, when they opened up that case file, my name was all over it.
right.
I'm all over that. And so I asked the priest if we could pray for them and etc. And he said yes. And during that mass, the phone rang. I couldn't answer it. So after mass, I went to go hear it, the answer machine, because back then we have the answer machines, if you
Right, I
remember.
remember, yes.
And the answer machine, and it was from my sister. It was from my sister from Pennsylvania, the same one who took me to the lie detector. Says, Gina, I meant to call you last week, but they got the murderers for your friends.
Really?
His name was Norm. And I was
Who
like,
was
oh
that?
my. It turns out to be a good friend of the wife, and the wife's mom. It was like they knew each other. And I had met him a couple times. So, so now they got this guy. And do you know how they got this guy?
Oh, DNA?
All new to me. But what happened is that, which more details I found out, was that um, it was Norm and this other guy, which was the mother's boyfriend, came in. I guess they wanted money or angry, whatever.
Okay.
Uh, the lady was sleeping, and they instantly shot her in the head.
Oh, wow.
And the husband comes out the bathroom, out of the shower, had a towel. And so he sees this. He starts fighting Norm. He gets Norm in a chokehold. And what does Norm do? Norm bites the the guy's arm, gets out of the chokehold, proceeds to stab him to death, and then do the fire. So it was that teeth
DNA is
marks,
on his arm with
DNA.
the
So
DNA.
now fast forward, I guess they had Norm as a suspect, but they couldn't have something to get his DNA. But it
Mhm.
just so happens in that 5th year afterwards, he was in jail for a DWI, got the
Wow.
records and everything. So now they got someone, he's pleading not guilty. A year goes by, and then I get a call to say that I'm getting a subpoena because it's coming to court. But then through God's grace, we kept playing phone tag one another. And then they finally said, says, Gina, you could throw that subpoena away because Norm just confessed an hour ago. And that was the ending of my case, of my murder case.
Wow.
and that's where and that's where but I have to say, Dr. Jennifer, during that time, and even now, I look back and I watch TV and I see Dateline, all this, and I'm like, I understand, because when you're in that situation, And when you're interrogated, like, yeah, I was there. That I was there.
Right.
It's horrific. And I
You
really
have
did
firsthand
think,
knowledge.
yeah, and I really felt maybe I did do it. Did I do it?
Wow.
What did I do? Not that I did, like, did I, what did I do?
Like, did I
They thought it
forget
was,
I did this thing?
yeah.
And because of this ordeal, Gina, you wrote a book about it. Tell us about your book.
Yeah. Yes, my book right here, Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk.
Wow.
It's my memoir. So that is part of my story. It's, my story about growing up, going to school, the murder case, being a nun, leaving the nunnery. I
How
was there
long
for
were you a
12
nun?
years.
12
12 years.
years. Okay.
So there's a lot in there because I endured a lot of pain and suffering and another persecution in a different way. And
Wow.
but I survived. I moved forward. I got kicked out, and
Wow.
then and and then my journey continues of being with men and women with disabilities, helping them out. And then I needed to get a job again. Me and my jobs. And what's my
Yes.
job, Dr. Jennifer? Is bartending. So I went back to bartending after all that.
No, you went
Yeah.
back. Okay.
Yeah. And then during my bartending, I met a gentleman. His name was Danny, and we fell in love. But he was but it didn't end there. He was an alcoholic,
Oh my.
but he did find sobriety. But during his time of finding sobriety, he was traveling and he got into a tragic car accident with his mom, and his mom died and burned up, and Danny burned up. And this all happened in Indianapolis, and it's all in my book. I
Wow.
mean, I'm just giving you the short version. And so I went to Indianapolis to be with Danny. He was burned halfway done. And what does an alcoholic do when they're in pain? They drink. So he relapsed. He went back to drinking. I kind of relapsed in my own way. I was going to Al-Anon, etc., and trying to, well, codependent, helping him, enabling, you name it. And then I kicked him out. And then a few months after that, I found him dead from the disease of alcohol, like a month before our
Oh my
wedding day.
God. No.
And yeah, so it doesn't, and that I was flatlined. Like I would say, when I mean flatline, I was just simply existing. I was dead, not
Oh,
wanting to live, and and just, or living in suffering and pain. That was
yeah.
my purpose. And
Yeah.
so I continue, and I did some research, and then I ended up coming into the rooms of AA. I was trying to research to say, why is Danny dead and you guys are sober? Why couldn't Danny get it? Because once
Um,
again, not familiar. I wasn't really as much familiar with alcoholism as I am today, because this happened in 2013, 2014.
yeah.
But then but on April 2nd, 2015, I'm in the rooms of AA, and I identify myself. I'm an alcoholic. I have, God willing, I have 10 years in April of sobriety. I'll have 10 years of sobriety, and I'm very happy, free inside. I could look back, but that's what my journey is all about. It's a message of hope and strength that you could get through anything, been through everything, like I said, a murder case. To be honest, doctor, when I started writing my book and writing it after Danny died, my sister kind of read it. My sister's like, how come you're not writing about the murder case? I said, oh yeah, I was in the murder. You know what I mean? Like, so much has happened in my life that things
Yeah, it's
didn't
hard to
seem
remember.
hard to
I
remember.
totally understand.
It's like, but then when you do remember, it was a significant, trying time in my life.
Absolutely.
Because even after that murder case, I went to the doctor and my stomach was all messed up. They said I had precancerous, and they said, "Are you
Um,
under stress?" No, but Gina, you're being, a suspect in a murder case. You're not under
that's
stress.
huge.
No, not me. What
That's
stress?
huge. Yes.
So
Where can
yes,
we buy your book, Gina? Tell us.
on Amazon.
I love
Or
Amazon.
my website is ginaecon.com, and you could see more details of the book and everything, and you could buy it. It's a very thin book, easy read, and it's a message of hope and strength, really,
I
for
love
those
that.
who are in all areas of life when they feel like they're hopeless or despaired. Know that, do not give up, and you're not alone. Just get this book or pass it forward, because it's a great read. It's
So
my read. It's true story. It's
I
not
love a
fake.
good
It's a
true
true
story.
story.
So
True.
Amazon for your book and GinaEcon.com for your
Yes.
book. And then I always love to leave my listeners with takeaways, but you just gave us some takeaways. A true
Yes.
story of hope and love, right? And you can get through anything.
Amen.
So you summed it up right there, because I love to leave my listeners with takeaways, because we always go through things and we think we're the only ones going through something. When we listen to someone like you who has went through multiple things and you've gotten through it. So just listening to your story and our listeners hear it, and now we know that if you can get through something like everything that you've been through, there's hope for the listeners out there. So thank you for sharing your story, Gina.
Well, thank you for listening, for all your listeners for listening. I mean, now in hindsight, I could laugh about it and thank God. It was part of my story,
Absolutely.
and it's who I am today. It
Yeah.
became who I am today through
It has
every.
shaped you and made you a
Amen.
voice for others to give them hope. So just thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Jennifer, and thank you for all your service and for reaching out and having guests on and helping your listeners. And it's awesome. Thank you.
I do what I can with what I have is all I ever say. So thank you. And thank you for being my special guest. And I want to thank all of the listeners for listening. And if you have not already done so, please tell a friend to tell a friend about Criminal Justice Corner, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you.